Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. After salatu wa tamu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we're going to start from those of the Arabic, Talqeenul Mayyit on page number 77. The topic we're going to begin with today, inshallah, is the Talqeen of the Mayyit and a kind of explanation of that. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There's an idea that we have, a tradition rather, that we have as believers, that when somebody's passing away, when they're dying, in the moment that they're dying, if of course it's not sudden death, of course, that you read the shahada in their presence. This is known in Arabic as Talqeenul Mayyit, or you read the statement La ilaha illallah. So if he's a Muslim, a believer, then you read that. But what you don't do is tell the person to read it. It's very important that you don't tell the person to read the kalima, or the kalima La ilaha illallah. And the reason for that is when people are dying, sometimes they can hallucinate, they can have their mind can be mixed up and things of that nature, or mentally the illness just gets to them. So if you were to tell them to say La ilaha illallah and then they refuse, say no, I'm not saying it, that could be quite problematic. And then Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, do not deny except as believers. So we don't want the person to have that kind of su'ul khatima, kind of bad ending. So what you do is you read La ilaha illallah. Everybody reads La ilaha illallah around them. You don't tell them to do it, but you read it around them. This is known as talqeen, or talqeenul mayyit. Now, as a topic, it's kind of a bigger topic than what I want to discuss today, so I want to discuss a bit of it. When people pass away, our attitudes, not attitudes, but our cultural traditions sometimes contradict the kind of religious, I would say they contradict the sunnah, but also religious prescriptions as well. So when somebody passes away, for instance, take the subcontinent community, the women, they wail, they make a lot of noise. Sometimes the men as well, but our women are more kind of generally, especially traditional women from Pakistan. We see this in the Kashmiri community a lot. So a lot of screaming and shouting and these types of things. And these types of things happened at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and he forbade them. So this is not permissible. Also, a lot of other things that are done which are su'ul adab, which are not good adab, and people probably pick up on them anyway. Now, generally speaking, when we go to the graveyard, there's only a small group of people, but even then there's certain etiquettes that we have when we take the body to the graveyard. And people have begun to introduce some innovations there as well, like after they've buried the person, they'll put like candles there around the grave, which is generally shouldn't be done. The issue of giving the adhan over the graveside, I take the position that it's an innovation and it's impermissible. One shouldn't do it. It's not established in the Sunnah or the early Muslims. Nobody really did that. Some of the Hanafis have allowed it, but most of the Hanafis, or many of the Hanafis, famous Hanafis, have considered it to be innovation. The adhan at the grave, it was not the practice of the early people, nor was it a practice of the companions or the Prophet ﷺ. And like I said, it comes very late, and even then, even though some of the ulama do allow it, others don't. Others are quite harsh about it. So the question is, this talqeenul mayyit, what's the purpose of it? The purpose of it is to encourage the person to say the shahada before they die. So it's obviously everybody wants to die or leave this world reading the shahada, reading La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah alayhi salatu, or words to that effect. Who wants to die in a state other than that? But the Shaykh talks about something slightly different, which is it permissible? What's the ruling on giving talqeen to the mayyit after they've passed away? Which is an interesting idea. So he writes, لقد نص أئمة الفقهاء المحدثين على استحباب تلقين الميت بعدما يدفن وذلك بأن يجلس إنسان عند رأسي ويقول, and then he has a dua. So the Shaykh's taken the position that after somebody passes away, this talqeen, meaning exhorting somebody to say La ilaha illallah or read the Shahada or read something, talqeen, reminding them of something. He says the ulama, the fuqaha, the imams of the jurists, the muhaddithin, the scholars of hadith, said it's mustahab to make talqeen of the mayyit after after the person has been buried, to make talqeen at that point. Now, in the Hanafi school, this is quite odd, although we do have some of the ulama talk about it. But there seems to be presence of this in the Shafi'i school, and I'm going to go through that. What is that talqeen? That talqeen is وَذَلِكَ بِأَنْ يَجْلِسْ إِنسَانُ عِنْدَ رَأْسِهِ وَيَقُولُ, that you bury the person, and where the head is, you sit around there, and you say, Ya Fulan ibn Fulan, oh so and so, son of so and so. So you read their name out. وَيَا عَبْدَ اللَّهِ ibn Abdullah wa amatahu. So, oh servant of Allah, son of servant of Allah, or Amma means a female servant, but Abd is used for the male, female, the word Amma is used. أذكر الأهدى الذي خرجت عليه من الدنيا شهادة. Remember the covenant that you left this world with, which is لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. The covenant that there's no God but Allah alone, that He has no partner, and that Muhammad is His Abd and His messenger. وأن الجنة حق, that Jannah is reality. وأن النار حق, that Nar is a reality, the fire, hellfire is a reality. وأن البعث حق, that the resurrection is a reality. وأن الساعة آتية لا ريب فيها, that the hour will come, there is no doubt in that. أن الله يبعث من في القبور, so God will resurrect those in their graves. Then he says, وَأَنَّكَ رَضِيتَ بِاللَّهِ رَبًّا, that you were satisfied and happy that God was your Lord. وَبِالْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا, and the messenger of God was and Islam was your religion. وَمُحَمَّدٍ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَسَلَّمَ نَبِيًّا وَرَسُولًا, that the Prophet ﷺ was a prophet and a messenger to you. وَبِالْقُرْآنِ إِمَامًا, that the Quran was your imam. وَبِالْكَعْبَةِ قِبْلَةً, and the Kaaba was your qibla. وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِخْوَانًا, and the mu'mineen were your brothers. Now, this is the dua that is read at the graveside, according to the Shaykh. This is mustahab to read this dua to remind the person in the grave of who they are. Now, he kind of justifies this, the Shaykh does, and he says, ذكر ذلك الإمام النووي, the Imam Abu Zakaria Nawawi, the famous Shafi'i scholar, jurist, mujtahid imam, incredibly famous, the author of Riyad Salihin, also Arba'in Nawawiyya, and the Minhaj and Sharh Minhaj and other great works. That he writes in the Sharh Muhaddab that Su'ila Shaykh Abu Amr ibn Salah, he narrates that Ibn Salah, another great hadith master, was asked about Talqeen al-Mayyit, about this, that when the person's passed away, can you read this? He said, Al-Talqeen huwa alladhi nakhtaruhu wa na'malu bihi. He was also Shafi'i. He said that the Talqeen is that which we prefer and that which we practice or do. Ibn Salah said, وروينا فيه حديثا من حديث أبي أمامة ليس إسناده بقائم, that we dalil or evidence for this dua at the graveside is a hadith of Abu Umama, but he said ليس إسناده بالقائم, that its chain of narration isn't that strong, although its meaning is da'if, it's not fabricated. And remember, da'if hadith, they're neither here nor there, in the sense that many of the ulama, if they're fadailul a'mal, if they look for additional things of tarhib and targhib that encourage or kind of prevent problems, they use them. So the Shaykh says, but however, this particular hadith is has other shawahid, has supporting evidence. وَبِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الشَّامِ قَدِيمًا, and also he said it's been a practice of Ahlul Sham, the whole Palestine, Syria area, from yesteryear, for a very, very long time. They've been doing this. And this is what he said. Nawawi says, بعد نقله كلام أبي عمرو قلت حديث أبي أمامة رضي الله عنه رواه أبو القاسم الطبراني. Imam Tabarani mentions a hadith in his Mu'jam, but it's got a weak chain. ولفظه عن سعيد بن عبد الله الأزدي And then he's got the whole story. And the story is that I saw Abu Umama وهو في النزع, he was dying. فقال if I pass away فاصنعوا بي, do what you must do with me, bury me, as the Messenger of God said. فقال إذا مات أحد, and meaning do the following, that the Messenger of God, he reports a hadith, said, if one of you dies, من إخوانكم فسويتم التراب, that you level the earth above on his grave, فليقم أحدكم على رأس قبره وليقل, that one of you stand at the head of his grave, meaning where his head is, the top of his grave, meaning. And the dua that we read earlier. And the Prophet ﷺ, in this narration, is purported to have said, "O son of so and so." Here it's fulana, ya fulan, meaning "O so and so, son of," and the mother's name is mentioned. And he hears him, but he can't reply. And say, "O so and so, son of so and so." فَإِنَّهُ يَسْتَوِي قَائِدًا, and then the person in the grave will sit up. And then you say again, and the person in the grave will say, "Arshidna rahimakallah, guide me, may Allah have mercy on you." But you don't know that he's saying that to you. Then say that dua that we earlier had, that or that statement that you left the dunya and shahada la ilaha illallah, etc. Interestingly, at the end of the narration, قالوا يا رسول الله فإن لم نعرف أمه, what if we don't know the person's mother's name? Because remember, it's so and so, and then son of, and then the mother's name. He said, then attribute it to his mother Hawa, meaning his first mother. Imam Nawawi said, بعدما أورد هذا الحديث قلت فهذا الحديث وإن كان ضعيف فيستأنس به. He said, even though the hadith is da'if, that we incline towards it, even though hadith is weak. وقد اتفق العلماء الحديث, that the ulama of hadith have agreed, and others, على المسامحة في أحاديث الفضائل, that the hadith that are of this nature, meaning they just give a bit of addition here or there, they're easy with them. There's more leeway with them. And plus it has other supporting evidences, and one of them is the hadith is'alu lahu tathbit, when somebody passed away from the wasiyah of Amr ibn al-As, that the hadith sahih, that it was said, ask them lahu at-tathbit, to confirm. So this tathbit could mean that they were asking him to confirm the shahada even though he had passed away, that he would be hearing from his grave, and that hadith sahih, meaning it has supporting evidences. And then the Shaykh says, وَلَمْ يَزَلْ أَهْلُ شَامٍ عَلَى عَمَلِ بِهَذَا فِي زَمَنِ مَنْ يُقْتَدَ بِهِ وَإِلَى الْآنَ, up until now, until Nawawi's time, that they were practicing this practice. وَهَذَا التَّلْقِينُ إِنَّمَا هُوَ فِي حَقِّ الْمُكَلَّفِ الْمَيِّتِ وَأَمَّا الصَّبِيُّ فَلَا يُلَقَّنُ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ. And Imam Nawawi says this is for somebody who's reached the age of puberty. Well, a child, you won't do this. You won't need to make a talqeen for a child. So he said some of the ulama, he said actually many of the ulama extrapolated or took from this that the legal nature of the talqeen after burial, meaning some of the ulama even made it a point of law. And Nawawi kind of takes it like, you know what, you can do it if you want to do it. We think it's a good thing to do. But then Sheikh Abdullah Sirajuddin rahimahullah ta'ala says, no, some of them have taken it to be a point of law, and they've used a particular hadith for that. And that hadith is لَقِّنُوا مَوْتَاكُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. And this is a hadith that has been differed upon. And this is a hadith that states, and this hadith is good. It's a sound hadith, that لَقِّنُوا مَوْتَاكُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, that لَقِّنُوا مَوْتَاكُمْ, meaning encourage your dying. The word mawtak is mentioned. Now this word mawta, encourage mawtakum, your mawta, to say la ilaha illallah. Now this word mawta, what does it mean? Because the word maut means death. Does it mean, here's the discussion, does it mean encourage those who have passed away, or invoke the ones who have passed away, or petition those who have passed away? Or does it mean those who are in the pangs of death? This word mawta has been differed on. This is what the Shaykh says. فَقَالُوا الْمَيِّتْ حَقِيقَةً وَمَنْ مَاتَ بِالْفَعْلِ. Some have said that this means somebody who's actually died. من مات بالفعل. وأما إطلاق الميت على المحتضر فهو من باب المجاز وإن كان حمل الكلام على الحقيقة هو الأصل. Now he uses kind of an usuli point. He says, look, the word mawta means dead people. If you're going to say that this means dying, then you're taking the metaphoric here, the figurative. You're not taking the literal of the word. And he says the default, the rule of thumb, is that when a word's mentioned in Arabic, in source text, like the Quran and Sunnah, you take it to be literal. So why would we take it to be metaphorical here, to say, no, it's the person who's dying rather than the person who has passed away? Yeah, the person who's dying is agreed upon. There's no difference on that. But this hadith here, لَقِّنُوا مَوْتَاكُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Does the word mawta here, does it mean somebody's passed away? Because look, let me just build the argument of what the Shaykh is trying to say. The argument is that he begins with the idea that you should give talqeen to the mayyit. Knowing that this is based on a weak narration, the Shaykh knows that, he understands that, he's quoted that full disclosure. He said that hadith is weak. But he said when you get to the graveyard, encourage them to say, La, even though they're in the grave, speak to them essentially. And say to them, the ahad that you left this world on, it was La ilaha illallah, Muhammad was your messenger, and they can hear you. And in one narration, the angels, at the end of the Abu Umama narration, actually, the Munkar and Nakir, one takes the other by the hand and says, let's go. We don't ask questions to the person who already has been given the answers. So that's the end of the narration. Now, anyway, although this hadith quite clearly would contradict our understanding of the purpose of the questions of the grave, because the purpose of the questions of the grave is a final kind of test and to test your resolve. So it would conflict with that, considering somebody just told you the answers. That's not the purpose of it. So that's why it's weak. And the ulama recognize that. But they still try to follow the practice. But he's arguing now that, wait there are other evidences that point to it anyway. One of them is, لَقِّنُوا مَوْتَاكُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That give talqeen to your mawtakum. Now this word mawta, from maut means dead. It doesn't mean dying. If you take it to be mawta as being literal. If you take it to be figurative, it includes dying. There's what people who are dying, as well as the people who have passed away. But he says, why are we taking the metaphoric over the figurative, over the literal? He says, وَإِن كَانَ الْكَلَامُ عَلَى الْحَقِيقَةِ هُوَ الْأَصْلُ. Generally speaking, we take something to be literal. وَلَا سِيمَا أَنَّ بَعْضَ الرِّوَايَاتِ تُرَجِّحَ الْمَعْنَى الْمَجَازِي. Well, then he says, well, other narrations do quite clearly infer that what's meant here is not literal. He recognizes that. وَبَعْضُهَا, but some of them يُرَجِّحُ الْمَعْنَى الْحَقِيقِي, preponderate that that it's actually a literal meaning. But then he concludes as فَالْأَحْوَةُ, what's kind of more encompassing? Al-amal bihima, to practice both of them, to to reconcile and to use both of them. كما أوضح ذلك العلامة كمال ibn Humam. Imam Ibn Humam states we do both of them, and one is that when the person's passing away, make talqeen, and when they pass away, after pass away, do the same. This actually is quite interesting because in the subcontinent, the Hanafis generally don't do this. When we go to the graveyard, we don't do the talqeen al mayyit. The grave, we don't actually, I've never seen it take place. Maybe one here or there. So it's interesting. It's a valid practice, I believe, because you have precedents for it. Amongst the ulama, there's discussions, there's debates about it. And some have clearly allowed it from kibar ulama, from the great scholars, and they used evidences for it. Even though the evidence is, some would argue that they don't stand up to scrutiny, but they do have some type of, there is a discussion there with dalil. That's at least it's not something that has no evidence, no backing. It's just a complete inference from something that probably wasn't there in the first place. Now we move on to Na'imul Qabr wa Adhabuh, the bliss of the grave and its punishment. جاء في الآيات القرآنية والأحاديث النبوية ما يدل قطعا على أن نعيم القبر حق وعذاب القبر حق يجب الاعتقاد بهما. أما الآيات فنذكر جملة منها. He says that we know that There's many ayat of Quran, ahadith that clearly establish the bliss and the punishment of the grave as being true and a reality. And one must believe in them. And he quotes one verse, and he's going to expand on that verse. In Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ, and when death reaches the throat, إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ, meaning you can feel death in your throat, meaning the gasping for air, I would assume, and these types of things. But it could be something also that's spiritual, that the sensation that something is like stuck in your throat. It's similar to the sensation that you feel when you're dying. And you shouldn't be too paranoid about it, because people say, but oh, does that mean every time I get something? No, it doesn't mean that, because you'll definitely know when you're dying. There's no doubt about that. وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ, and you حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ will be there looking on. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْكُمْ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ, and we are closer to him from them, but you know not. وَلَكِنْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ, but you can't see, meaning the angels. فَلَوْلَا إِن كُنْتُمْ غَيْرَ مَدِينِينَ, how is it that you do not restore, or rather, فَلَوْلَا إِن كُنْتُمْ غَيْرَ مَدِينِينَ عفوا. Allah says here, how is it not that when you are bound to us, independent, subject to our will, meaning we can take you at any point. تَرْجِعُونَهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, if you have the power, go on, show it. Bring the person back to life. This is a challenge from God and a threat. Go ahead if you think, and this is a continuation of the surah. Go ahead if you think you can do it. Bring him back to life. فَأَمَّا إِن كَانَ مِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ, and as for if he is from the muqarrabin, God gives 3 levels of people here. He gives muqarrabin, he gives ashabul yamin, and he gives mukadhabin. He gives a high echelon, high state, which Allah calls muqarrabin. Innal abrara, for abrar can be used for that as well. So the muqarrabin are those who are close to God. As for those, if they are muqarrabin, فَرَوْحٌ وَرَيْحَانٌ وَجَنَّاتُ نَعِيمٌ, they have calm, comfort, and Jannatu Na'im, garden full of pleasures and bounties. That's the highest state of a person, the person of the high state. وَأَمَّا إِن كَانَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْيَمِينَ, what if he's a righteous, upright person who we call Ashabul Yamin? فَسَلَامٌ لَكَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْيَمِينَ, then salam to you from the people of righteousness. وَأَمَّا إِن كَانَ مِنَ الْمُكَذَّبِينَ الضَّالِينَ, but if you were a denier, misguided one, فَنُزُلٌ مِّنْ حَمِيمٍ, then will descend. Al-Hamim, Hamim, min Hamim is a boiling water. وَتَصْلِيَةُ جَحِيمٍ, and blazing fire. إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ حَقٌّ الْيَقِينِ, there's no doubt in this. This is true. This is truth. فَسَبِّحْ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الْعَظِيمِ, glorify your Lord. Glorify in the name of your Lord, the Great. So this is the central verse the Shaykh uses, and then he begins to break it down slowly. So في هذه الآيات الكريمة بيان أصناف الناس بعد الموت, these are types of people that God mentions here after death. وأنه ما بين منعم ومؤذب, and they are between those who will be given bliss and those who will be given punishment. Allah says فلولا إن كنتم غير مدينين, he says تحت قدرة الله وحكمه, mentions ترجعونها أي الروح إلى جسده بعد ما فارقته وأنتم تنظرون إلى جسد الميت إن كنتم صادقين. أي من أنكن, meaning تعجزون الله وأنتم لستم من حيطة قدرة وإرادة النافذة فيكم. I've explained that already. Now, the Shaykh goes on, and the point that I want to get to is where he uses this as a proof for punishment of the grave. He writes that towards the end, on the next page, he says ذهب كثير من الصحابة والتابعين رضي الله عنهم إلى أن هذا الخطاب للنفس يقال لها عند الموت وعند النشر. Now, sorry, before that, afwan. I'll just go from muqarrabin, the earlier statement. وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ تَقَرَّبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى بِالنَّوَافِلِ فَوْقَ الْوَاجِبَاتِ. The muqarrabin are people who practice the religion such that they had additional acts above and beyond their fard acts. وَلَيْسَ عِنْدَهُ الْمُبَاحَاتِ. They didn't busy their lives with things that are of no benefit. بَلْ جَمِيعُ أَعْمَالِهِمْ طَاعَاتٍ. All of their actions were of obedience. فَقَرَّبَهُمْ إِلَيْهِ قُرْبًا خَاصًا. God brought them close to him, a closeness that is for the elite. كما جاء في الحديث القدسي. Like in the narration, Allah says, وَمَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيْهِ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. That my servant does not cease to come near me, close to me through extra acts until I love him. And they also known as as-sabiqeen in the Quran. وَسَابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. Meaning they were the ones who were first in goodness and excellence. Then he says, فَأَمَّا إِنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ فَرَوْحٌ وَرَيْحَانٌ وَجَنَّاتُ النَّعِيمِ. So as for those, وَأَمَّا إِنْ كَانَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْيَمِينِ, who are أصحاب اليمين وهم الذي قاموا بالواجبات, those people who fulfill their obligations. وانتهوا عن المحرمات, they stayed away from haram acts. وليس عندهم كثرة نوافل, they're not much nawafil. وعندهم أفعال مباحة, and they did normal things. They didn't spend all their lives in ibadah necessarily. Then they as well, the angels will greet them. Salamun laka, ay la takhaf anta, don't be scared. Come to security and safety. Anta min ashabil yamin, you are the people from the right side, or al yamin. Then he gives the next category on the next page. وَأَمَّا إِذَا كَانَ إِنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُكَذَّبِينَ الضَّالِينَ فَالنُّزُلُ مِنْ حَمِيمٍ. And then he says these people are going to be punished in their graves. But when he says وَتَصْلِيَةُ جَحِيمٍ أي تغطية وغمر له من جحيم من العذاب أعاذنا الله تعالى من ذلك وفي هذا دليل على نعيم القبر وعذابه. He says this is clear proof that this is to do with the bliss of the grave and to do with the punishment of the grave. وأن ذلك يحصل عقب الموت فورا كما دلت عليه الفاء. Because he's saying the word fa is used here. So in the Quran, Allah uses فَنُزُلٌ. First, فَرَوْحٌ وَرَيْحَانٌ. There's a comfort, then fa. He says this is for immediacy, al-fawr. Then in the next فَنُزُلٌ مِّنْ حَمِيمٍ, the punishment, the fa again infers an immediacy. So he uses this as a proof that this is immediately after one passes away. Then he quotes the ayah, يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي في جنتي. This verse, that nafs mutma'inna, soul that's mutma'inna, that's content. Irji'i, return, ila rabbika, to your Lord, radiyatan mardiya, in a state of happiness and bliss. Fadkhuli fi ibadi, come join my servants. Wadkhuli jannati, and enter my paradise or my garden. Many of the Sahaba tabi'in رضي الله عنه had the opinion إلى أن هذا الخطاب للنفس يقال لها عند الموت وعند النشر, that this is a khitab, an address to the person, يقال لها, that you say to the person when they're dying, and when it was said to them when they're dying and when they're resurrected. So this is to do with when that God is telling them. So this would kind of, he's saying, that be as another evidence that for the punishment or the bliss of the grave, because God is saying, come to bliss, come to happiness, meaning now, immediately. So just to remind you that this book will not be done for a very long time, because it's a very long book. We've got through only a few hundred pages. No, not even 100 pages. We're not even in page 100 yet, and the book is almost 500 pages. So inshallah, this will continue on. Hopefully, even after lockdown, we'll finish there. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم وأتوب إليه.